Yeah, so what we discussed last day, I think only few things we discussed. So yeah, uh, yes. So what we are talking about is basically variable length code words. So if you remember the picture, so let's say this is a sender and this is a receiver. So the sender wants to send some symbols, let's say a1, a2, dot, 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 ak, and yeah, and this receiver will receive something. But now the job here is, once we have the symbols, so the sender wants to send some strings of these symbols, right? Some word, some code word. Okay. And we also said that there is already a probability distribution with all this, because this is an information source due to Shannon's theory. So we have PA1, PA2, and so on, PAK. And the idea is we need to digitalize these symbols. So, and this is a noisy channel. Okay, so there is some noise in the channel. So now the question is how to digitalize this. By digitalization, we mean that, okay, there is an alphabet or some code alphabet, like we said, we consider some said D to be equal to 0, 1. Okay. Then what we want to define is a code, and this code is, the code is a set of code words, So each code word, so for each symbol there is a code word. So for each symbol, let's say a small k, there is a code word. There is a code word from the set d star. By d star, what I mean is, okay, I can write d to the power n, but if we write d to the power n, then the length of each code word will be fixed, and that will be equal to n. So in general, we write this. So this is, so this set consists of strings of the set. So okay, the set d star, which contains strings of 0, 1. Strings of 0, 1. So basically what we are saying is, for each A1, we have to define a strings of 0, 1 like this. Okay. And let's say A1 is this, A2 is something like 0, 1, whatever. Okay, 0 and so on. So AK is something like, okay, like 1, 0, whatever it is. Okay. So this is like an example of a code. This entire set is called a code. Okay. But our purpose is to generate a code so that such that when the receiver receives it, okay, suppose the receiver receives a strings of symbols, let's say 1, 2, some symbol. So if the receiver receives a strings of, or just let's say we call it sequence. So it receives a source sequence of this, like suppose the sender sends A1, A2. So then it will be a sequence of this 2. Okay, this 2 binary code words, let's say. So then if the receiver receives a source sequence, then the receiver, okay, must be able to decode it. decode it. In fact, so decode it means, so receiver must receive the same sequence, okay, which the sender sending, okay. So yeah, so in fact we said this the coding, okay. So this process is called coding, the way we define this coding. So the coding has to be uniquely decodable, okay. But before that, we said the coding could be of two types. One is fixed length code word, fixed length code word. So meaning each code word will be of some length, like strings of 0, 1 will be of same length for each of the symbol, and other one is variable length. Variable length code words. Okay, so there are two ways of doing it. And we talked about this part, that the question here is, if we consider fixed length code word, then what should be that length? Okay, what should be that length? Okay, or what is the minimum value of that length? And we proved a source coding theorem due to Shannon, and we said that if L is, so we proved that if that is the sender sends, let's say, sends a sequence of L, or a set sequence, let's say a source sequence of length L, then n by L, okay, this must be bigger or equal to some HU plus delta, okay, by I think log of D. So D here in general, that D need not be equal to the set 0, 1. Okay, like here we said D equal to 0, 1. Okay, so log D, D means here D is D is mod of D. Okay, mod of the calligraphy D. So meaning the number of code letters. Okay, like 0, 1 means this D is equal to 2. Okay, and this is log base 2. Okay, and this n is the length. Okay, is the length, and this HU is the entropy. Okay, entropy, and this delta is coming from the typical set which you define. Okay, so this is associated with the typical set. Okay, so what we said basically is, okay, set of all sequences, if you consider, okay, all sequences of length A, source sequences of length L, then there is a typical set, okay, and because the idea is like receiver, the sender need not send all possible source sequences of length L, but okay, since there is a probability distribution, okay, the sender will send it is enough to consider that there is a typical set, which is a collection of source sequences, and if we code these sequences perfectly, then the error will go to 0 if we fix this n by L to be bigger than equal to this. Okay. Okay, I think again the screen is frozen. Just a minute. Yeah, so do you have any doubt up to this? This is what we discussed till I think last week. So yeah, so this typical set is like this. Yeah. And then we started talking about variable variable length code word, right? And for the variable length code word, what we said is that the guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So for variable code length, so what we are saying is, okay, now we'll start talking about actually we have started talking about it, but just to recall some of the things which we discussed. So variable length length code words. So here the idea is, okay, now I have this source symbols, let's say A1, A2, dot, 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 AK. Then my code length, my code word length, the length of the code word for each of this symbol, okay, need not be same, okay. So we assume that, okay, let's say I want to design a code, okay, for which, let's say A1 has a code word whose length is N1, A2 has the length of the code word N2, and AK has NK, okay, this is the length. Then here our question is, what is the average length? Because there is a probability associated with it, P of A1, P of A2, and P of AK. So there is a chance of occurrences of this symbol in a source sequence. So our idea is to ask, the question here is, what is this? Let's say it is n bar, which is the expected length of code word. Okay, so what is the, on average, we can say that what is the length of a code word on average? Okay, so on average, or weighted average. Okay, so n bar we defined it as, let's say, nk. Okay, nk and probability of ak, and this k equal to 1 to capital K. Okay, so we want to find, basically the question here is to find what is the minimum value. What is the minimum value? Okay, minimum value of n bar. So if I formulate this problem mathematically, this is an optimization problem. Okay, and what is the constant here? The constant here is, so that this is, let's say I want to minimize this function, okay, n bar, which is given by this, but there is a constant. The constant is what you call this, the code words, okay, which you generate, which you define, that will form the code. The code has to be uniquely decodable, meaning for any sequence of any source sequence, okay, the receiver must decode it uniquely. This is what we define. Okay, so the constant here is the code. The code must be uniquely decodable. So this is the problem now. Okay, this is the problem. Okay, for that I gave you an example of, okay, an example of code words for let's say 4 source letters. Okay, let's say I said, okay, let's say our source letters are like A1, A2, A3, and A4. These are the source letters, and then let's say we have a probability. So this is the source letters, and there is a probability, okay, associated with this case. Let's say we said equal, let's say it is 0.5 and 0.25, 0.125, 0.125. Meaning is, okay, meaning is, if you just construct a sequence, a source sequence, means a sequence of these source letters, the occurrence of A1 in the word, okay, or in the sequence is higher than the occurrence of A3 or A4, okay, because it follows from the probability, okay, that this probability is less than this one. So A1 is highly likely to be in that sequence, okay. And then we designed some code. So I gave you an example of a code. For example, I said, okay, it could be 0, 0, 1, 1, 0. And then we said that this is not a good code word, because if the sender sends A1, A2, let's say, so that means the sender is sending 0, 0. So if this is received by the receiver, now he is confused, because it could be A1, A2, it could be A2, A1, it could be A1, A1, okay, and it could be A2, A2. So this code is not uniquely decodable. So this is not a good code. Okay, this is what we don't want. Okay, and another example was, let's say 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1. And we had seen that there is the same problem here, the problem of unique decodability. Okay, so this also need not be uniquely decodable. Okay, for example, Okay, so for example, here if the guy, if the sender sends this A4, okay, so that means the receiver received this 1 1, then he's a little bit confused because it could be A2 or it could be A4 itself. Okay, so you can find other examples also. You can construct other source sequences. Okay, for this is just the source sequence of length 1. Here it is source sequence of length 2. So you can find other examples also where you can see that there is a confusion. Okay, when you want to decode it. Okay, once the receiver sends this one, and then we said, okay, we can have another code. Okay, which is said 0, 1 0, 1 1 0, and 1 1 1. And we have seen that this is uniquely decodable. Okay, so we discussed about that this is uniquely decodable, and but this we also discussed that this has a very interesting feature. This sequence, I mean this code, a very interesting feature, which we said it is something called prefix code. Okay, prefix code means what? No, yeah, so the difference between the first code, and let's say this is code 1, and this is say let code 2. So and let's say this is code 3. So what is the difference between code 1, code 2, and code 3? So one of the fundamental difference here is no. So this is the feature of code 3, that no code word is a prefix of another code word. And this is a phenomenal thing. I mean, this is a very important property of a code, that no code word is a prefix of another code word, and any such code is called a prefix code. We defined what is called a prefix code. Okay, this is the definition. If no code word is a prefix of another code word in the code. Okay, so code means a set of code words, and if this is true for that code, then we call it a prefix code. And this is an example of prefix code. And we have seen that this is uniquely decodable. Okay, once you receive a sequence of A1, A2, A3, A4, you can uniquely decode it. Okay, now the thing is, okay, prefix code is also, I mean, it has another name. It's called instantaneous code, because I mean there's a reason for that. Because once the receiver, so okay, so this prefix code, it is also called instantaneous code. It's called instantaneous code because once the receiver receives such a sequence of the source sequence, let's say, okay, so he'll be immediately able to decode it. So there will be no delay. It is instant. Okay, he instantly can decode it. So that's why it is called instantaneous code. Okay, instantly he or she, the receiver, can decode it. Okay. Okay, so this is this code. Yeah, I mean this in this example at least this is uniquely decodable. Okay, and but we also give an example of another code, which is code 4. Let's say code 4, and here it is. Let's say 0 0 1. Okay, 0 1 1 and 0 1 1 1. And here you can see that this is 0, okay, is a prefix of A2. Okay, so this is not a prefix code. Okay, so for example, here you have a prefix, but this is already a code word. So this is not a prefix code, the code 4, but code 4 also you can check that it is uniquely decodable. Okay, so this is, so that means what is happening is, I mean, a code is uniquely decodable does not mean that it is a prefix code. Okay, but at least from this example. Okay, but prefix code is like uniquely decodable for this particular example. Okay, so this is an example. Okay, code 4 code 4 is uniquely decodable, but not a prefix code. So I mean, we should not think like any decodable code is a prefix code, but prefix code is one of the most important codes in this world. Okay, and we'll discuss why is that so. Okay, so before we go further, let me give you a picture. Okay, let me give you a picture which will tell you a mechanism. Okay.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, how code 4 is uniquely decodable?
I mean, you can check that. You can find some example. I mean, you can do that. Some sequence of A1, A2, A3, A4, and you will see that you can always do that because each of this code has different length. So, for example, if you give me anything, okay, I mean, whatever thing you consider, let's say a strings of 0 ones, okay. Suppose you first consider a string of source symbols, and accordingly you generate the corresponding sequence of code words, and then you will see from this code words, okay, whatever you will get after putting those values, putting those code words for each of the symbol, you'll see because of this thing that every in this particular example that every code word is of different length, you can check that it will be uniquely decodable. I mean, there is no theorem like that. I mean, this is just an example. So example means you can check with different source sequences, and you can define corresponding to their sequence of code words, and then you can see that it is possible to uniquely decode it. I mean, there is no theorem like I will not be able to prove that this is always uniquely decodable unless I use some particular property of this code, which is not true because this is an example. Okay, this is a particular example, so it has no property like that until till now we did not discuss any property of a code from which we can tell you that it is uniquely decodable. Okay, so we'll do that for prefix code, but this is just an example to show you that okay, you can try to find try to construct some source sequences and their corresponding sequence of code words, and then you'll see that you can always be able to decode it. So there is no theorem like that, but you can try. I mean, it is like trial and error. You can try to construct some source sequences and their corresponding sequence of code words, and then you will see that you can always uniquely decode it. Is that okay?
Yes, sir. I will check.
Yeah, just check. Okay, so now I'll give you a graphical representation of this, and this graphical representation will play a very fundamental role in today's lecture, and it is actually it will play a very fundamental role in entire coding theory. Okay, I'll just give you a tree structure for the construction of this code. Okay, so let us do that. So let us say I have here 4 letters. Okay, so the idea is how do I generate a string of 0 ones for each of this symbol, okay, each of the symbol, such that no code word is the prefix of another one. Okay, this is the goal. Okay, and for that I'm just giving a picture that this is how it can be created. Okay, so suppose
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes.
Like in code 3, the prefix code, we are decoding from left to right.
Left to right means?
Like, so if we have a string, so what is the pattern in which we are reading? It's from left to right or right to left?
No, there is something called left to right. So for example, what I'm trying to tell you is, let's say you construct a sequence, let's say A3, A4, like that. Okay. So once you receive this, so for what we will get, for example, if you do that, it will get 0, 0, and then A3 means 1, 1, 0, let's say 1 and 0. So here we are not assuming that there is an effect of noise or anything. Okay. Suppose we are assuming that whatever the receiver sent, this is what is received by this. What the sender sent, a receiver is received the same. Receiver has received the same thing. And then the question is whether receiver will be able to decode it or not. So let's say A3 and A4. Let's say 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Now I want to decode it. Let's say, how do I decode it? See, I can say like 0 because I know the coding scheme. Okay, the receiver would know the coding scheme. So he can have a guess like either 0 could be a code or 0, 1. But he already knows that if 0 is this 0, so there is nothing like there is no code word which starts with 0 except this A1. So whenever there is a 0, it has to be A1. Okay, so it is not left to right, it is just whatever the code word is, because there is no other code which starts with this. Then the next symbol is 1. Now when it is starting with 1, it could be A2, A3, A4, because all these are starting from this. Now since there is no 0 after 1, so then this cannot be A2, let's say. So now this cannot be A2 because the code word for A2 is 10. Okay, so then the question is either it is 110 or 111. So it is 110, so that means it has to be A3. And then of course I mean in the similar using the similar argument, one can say that this will be A4. This is how the receiver will, let's say, I mean receiver here means it is not a person. Okay, let's say it is a machine. So the machine will decode it. Yeah, you got it. So in that sense, whatever maybe you are thinking, in that sense it is from left to right. Okay, in that sense it is from left to right. You can think like that. Yeah.
So sir, yes, this is from left to right, but what I was thinking, we can decode like from right to left also. Like if we start from right, we'll get A4 first, then A3 and A1. It is
Yeah.
also uniquely determinable from right to left.
Yeah. But what
Yeah,
I said, yeah, what I said is from left to right. Yeah. Go ahead.
yes. Now, if we think code 4, then code 4 is like a prefix sequence from right to left.
Okay.
Yes, and now my question is like it is always the case if a scheme is like if we can decode it from reading right to left, then we can always be able to decode it from reading left to right.
Oh, that is a good question, but I think it is in general not true. I mean, there can be a code which is uniquely decodable. I mean, which is uniquely decodable, but from left or right, both sides it is not a prefix code, let's say. Okay, so because there is no theorem like that, but I didn't think about this question. So maybe you can also think, I mean, you means all of you, I can also think to produce such a code which is uniquely decodable, because I have not thought about that. So, I mean, I don't have a ready-made answer. I mean, I don't have a ready-made code for you, which will contradict that. I mean, there is a code which is not prefixed from left-hand side, right-hand side. Okay, and that is also uniquely decodable. Right now, I do not have an example, but I think we can construct such codes, which is not, because I mean I'll tell you a little bit. I mean maybe tomorrow when you will define how to construct different codes, then you will see, because there are different mechanisms to construct codes. So this is very fundamental. Okay, because this prefix code is very fundamental in a sense that this was the first mathematical construction of uniquely decodable codes. You can think like that. Okay. So yeah, there are many codes. I mean, there are many procedures to generate codes. So, and this is never considered, I think. So I think this is possible to have that kind of a situation. I mean, if that is the case, then everything will stop, right? So and this is the only way to create a uniquely decodable code. So I think the answer will be no, but we have to produce an example. So yeah.
Sir, can we think this like if we are sending in a sequence like A1, A2, A3, A4, like this we are sending, so the receiver also decode in the same sequence. First
Yes.
it will receive 0, then 01, then 011. It is, I am thinking of the question is like we are writing on paper, so we are writing A1, A3, A4, and we are getting 010110111. But at the receiver, it will get like first A1, then A3, then A4. So it will decode from the 0. It will start from the first letter it will receive. So I think there will be not be the case that it will decode A4 first, then go to A3. It means that it will decode last sequence, last alphabet which we receive A4 first. I'm thinking like that way, so there will not be confusion.
Okay. So the thing is, okay, we'll talk about that later also. So when you have this channel, okay, so the thing is, there is some property of the channel. For example, how many bits you can send, okay, at one go, right? So when the receiver is sending, let's say the number of bits you can send is 100. Okay, for the timing, let us assume that 100. Now, if I send this individual source symbols one by one, okay, per time, let's say per second, something like per unit time, okay. What will happen is many times you have to use the channel, and the channel is noisy. So there is a chance of, I mean, not only noisy, but use of channel is also costly. So it is not like you have to send the symbol, each symbol at one go. No, the sender will send as a source sequence, means as a sequence of symbols, not individual symbol. So when you write a message, let's say you write an email, you write a whole bunch of words, right? So as an entire thing. So when it is sending, when you are sending, for example, and suppose the channel capacity or some property of the channel, we'll discuss this later. But suppose there is a channel, okay, through which you can send, let's say 100 bits per second. Let's assume. Then it is better to send all the symbols all together. Let's say I'll send A1, A2, A3, A4, and then maybe some others. So I create a sentence, let's say, using all these symbols, and I can send at one go. I don't need to send each symbols individually, because then that will take a lot of time. So time is involved, also cost is involved, and there is also a noise. So in order to minimize everything, I'll say that the sender will send a sequence of these symbols, okay, not just symbol individually. You understand what I said? So when I said, yeah, so when I said uniquely decodable, where is that? Uniquely decodable, I said it's a source sequence. See, it is a source sequence. Here, it is a source sequence. It is not individual symbol. The source sequence, okay, you see that the sender sends a sequence of symbols, and then it has to uniquely, the receiver has to uniquely decode. It is not individual symbols. Okay, yeah. Okay, so yeah. Now, so I'll give you a picture. Okay, now the question is how to construct a prefix code. Okay, and there is a nice construction of it. Now we'll talk about that. Let's say for this, let us consider this example. So we have 4 code words first, 4 symbols first of all. Okay, and we want to generate then 4 code words, and no code word will be a prefix of another code word. That is the constant. Okay, now we want to do that. So let us start, and I think you know what a tree is because I talked about that in the previous course, okay? And I think the undergraduate students must know what a tree is. So let us start from a node like this. So I'll be constructing a tree, okay? Now what I'll do is, this is my initial, this is the root, okay, of the tree. This is a rooted tree. Then I'll have 2 branches. One is 0, another is 1. Okay, so it can be 2, 0, or 1. Suppose I consider, so this is 0. Okay, I'll tell you all the, so okay, all the nodes, I'll talk about that. This is another node. This is actually 1, but I'll not write that this is 1 because of a reason. And I'll tell you what is the reason. Then I'll again have a branch from here. So there are 2 more nodes which are originating from this because I'm considering a rooted tree. And I have, so this is, you can say that this is first order nodes, and this is second order nodes. Second order nodes. Now see how I am leveling it. This node, this particular node, if I consider this is 1, 0, meaning this is 1, this is 0, and that's how from the root node I get a path. Okay, like if I take first 1 and then 0, then this is a code word which is different from this one. I mean 0 is not a prefix of 1, 0. Okay. And this is 1, 1. This node is 1, 1. Okay. I can stop there itself. If I take this node, that means I have constructed a code which has 3 symbols. Okay, I'll stop there. So then let's say my symbol, like A1, A2. So for A1, I'll set 0. For A2, I'll set 1, 0. And for A3, I'll set 1, 1. That's it. I'm done. Okay, if I have 3 symbols, but I have 4 symbols, so I'll go one bit more. Now see, from this node, I am not considering any branch, because if I consider, then for those nodes, for those nodes which are originating from this node, okay, they will have the code word, okay, whose prefix is 0. So that's why I'm not originating from here. So once I choose fix this node, I'm not taking any branch, any nodes which are originating from this. Okay, I have fixed it, then that means it is fixed. Similarly here, once I fixed it, okay, I fixed it. So there will be no branch from this one as well. Now I did not fix it because I have four symbols. I need to generate 4 codes. Now what I'll do is, I'll do this, one more branch. So 2 nodes are again originating, and this is from 0 and this is direction 1. So now since I have 4 symbols, I can do that. So, and this is 1, 1, 0, this one, and this is actually 1, 1, 1. In fact, this is the code I gave you. So A1 is like, so this is third order node. Okay, order here means, so I mean, if you just some people also got level. Okay, first level, second level, third level is fine. I think in the previous course we talked about level. Here we'll call it order because this is the standard term, or you can call it a level also. Okay, order or level, doesn't matter. Order level, order or level. Now here you see I have generated a code for 4 symbols. Okay, where no one, okay, no code word is a prefix of another one. Okay, now let us see one more example. Suppose I have 5 symbols. Okay, then I have to generate 5. Okay, and how do I do it? Okay, let us see. Now I will again start generating a binary tree from here, and then first we'll start like this. Okay, then I can have 2 options, 0 and 1, and let us say that I fix this node which is 0. Then I'll not expand this particular node, so there will be no branch from this node. Now I'll have one more branch from here to here. So this one, so I fix this one. This is 0, 1. Okay. Now again, so this is 0, this is 1. Again, I'll take a branch from here, which is originating from this node, and this is 0, and this is 1. Then this is 1, 1, 0. I will not stop because I need 5. So then from here again, I'll have this. Okay. So this one and this one. Now I'll stop.
So I think that should be 1, 0.
Which one?
Second.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, you're right. Thank you. 1, 0. Now this one is, let's say 0 and this is 1. So this one is 1, 1, 1, 0. Right? Yeah. And this is 1, 1, 1, 1. 1, 1, 1, 1. Now I have 5. Okay. And then I can have, let's say, A1, A2, A5. Then I will write A1 equal to 0, A2 equal to 1, 0, A3 is equal to 1, 1, 0, A4 is equal to 1, 1, 1, 0, and A5 is equal to 1, 1, 1, 1. Now, why I'm giving you this example, both the examples, because I want to just tell you that this construction does not depend on the number of symbols. It could be even or it could be odd. Okay, but for both the cases, you can have a prefix code using this way from this tree. And the most interesting property, which I'll use later again, okay, in order to prove a big theorem, okay, later I will use this fact that, see, the code words of maximum length. Okay, so these are the code words of the last 2 code of maximum length, and they differ only at the last digit. They differ only at the last digit. Okay, similarly here you can see that this and this, they only differ at the last digit. So if you construct this prefix code, this is now a mechanism, okay, to construct a prefix code. Okay, the question could be, okay, can there be any other way to construct a prefix code? We'll deal it later. Okay, we'll discuss about it later. In fact, we'll show that you construct any prefix code, there will always be a tree like that. Okay, where the nodes will represent the code words. Okay, that will prove that. But here, this is at least a mechanism which can give you a prefix code. That means no code word is a prefix of another code word. Okay. Now the question is here d is equal to 2. This is d is equal to 2, and I'll denote order as n. So here n equal to 3. So this is third order. Okay, this is the tree of order 3 here. So n denotes the order. Okay, and this is the code alphabet size. Alphabet size. Alphabet size. This is also d is equal n equal to 4 is first order, second order, third order, fourth order. Okay, so here n equal to 4 and d is equal to 2. Now the question is, if I increase d, okay, suppose I don't want to use binary codes, okay, but I want to use ternary code or something. Like suppose I have suppose my code alphabet, okay, is like 0, 1 up to something, okay, 0 up to 100. So I want to use that, okay. So that is also possible. So in that case, what will happen is the difference is here, since d is equal to 2, there are only 2 vertices, okay, originating from a particular node. There are 2 vertices originating from a particular node. Okay, in that case, there will be d many. Okay, there will be d many nodes which will be originating from the vertex for each of the level of the vertices. Okay, for each vertex of each level or each what I said order. Okay, for first order node, second order node, third order, doesn't matter. Whatever order is that, from each order there will be that many d many number of nodes which will be originating from. Okay, there will be d branches, and then also this will work. Okay, for example, I mean, you can do it as a homework. I mean, you can see the principle, why it is happening. Okay, so we'll talk about this also in a little while, but I mean, to discuss in a generalized situation. So this is just a homework. Okay, that so that this construction constructions of generation of prefix code, okay, works for any d. Okay, for example, you can try with d equal to 3. Okay, you can try that. Okay, so this gives me a mechanism to construct this, and not only that. Okay, here now you can see you can recall that I gave you, okay, in order to give you an operational meaning of entropy. Okay, I gave you actually the example long back. So this is 0.5, this is 0.25, this is 0.125. I mean, that was like half. This is 1/4, this is 1/8, and this is 1/. This is how I discussed. And then I had shown that this is a code word. Okay, this is the code. Let's say the code 3. This is the code for which entropy is exactly equal to the average length. So our original question was, I want to find the minimum value of this. Minimum value of this average length. Okay. The question is, will it be entropy or something else? Okay. In fact, here also you can again calculate and check that here. You can again check for code 3 okay, and bar will be equal to 1.75 and h of u is also 1.75. So somehow, if we are able to prove that this is a lower bound of n bar, that means this prefix can attain this lower bound. So it not only gives you the lower bound, it gives you a way to generate a code which will achieve the lower bound. Okay, if we are able to prove that, and I'll show you this is what is going to happen. Okay, but then again there will be new questions like, is it the only way to construct a code for which this will attain the bound and so on? We'll say no. Okay, and we'll talk more about it. I mean, whatever I said, this is informal. Okay, and for this particular example only. Okay, but then the question will be for any prefix code for any number of symbols, can I generate this? Generate as a prefix code for any possible number of symbols? Can I generate a prefix code this way, which will give me the minimum as this or not? So these questions will come. Okay, we'll discuss that later. So now, but this is in this particular example, at least if the entropy is the lower bound, okay, so that means n bar has to be bigger or equal to this, and we are trying to find out that the minimum of n bar, then this is the code for at least for this example with this probability distribution. Okay. Now I'll prove one of the fundamental results, okay, in coding theory, and which was proved long back. In fact, this person Kraft gave this construction of this tree, and this is called Kraft inequality. Kraft inequality. And this was proved in 1949. Okay. Now, idea of, so what was the question? Why did we start from this? We started from the fact that how do I decide my N1, N2, Nk? So I am supplied with K symbols. I want to find a code word for each of these. Let's have length N1, N2, and Nk. Then the question will be, how do I decide the values of N1, N2, Nk? So that there will be a code word which is uniquely decodable. So first of all, I need to have a guess about this. Okay. So that there is a uniquely decodable code if I consider those values as N1, N2, Nk. And Kraft gave the answer. Okay. So he said, if suppose N1, N2, Nk are positive integers that satisfy summation. This is what is inequality. K equal to 1 to capital K d to the power minus nk less than or equal to 1. Don't forget that d is mod of d. So I'm proving this in general. Okay, my d is actually 2. If I consider binary codes, okay, meaning the code words, okay, are defined by strings of 0 ones, then this value of d is 2. Okay, and if they suppose, so here the statement of this inequality is, suppose I have n1, n2, nk, some numbers which satisfies this one. So for example, if d equal to 2, it is 2 to the power minus nk over all k. Okay, this is equal to 1. Then, okay. Okay, then there exists a prefix code, okay, with alphabet size, with, let's say, code alphabet size d, okay, such that ni is the length of the code word for ai, I equal to 1 to k. Say here, there is no specific meaning of A1, A2, AK, okay? So they could be anything. Symbol means they could be like question mark, first packet, A, B, Z, doesn't matter. They are just any symbol. It has no meaning, okay? They are just symbol, it could be anything, okay? But, so, A1 has no specific meaning except that It is not like first, second, third. There is nothing like that. So there are for the purpose of presenting the results, we are assuming that it is A1, A2, AK. Okay, so there could be anything, and they are not ordered also. There are some symbols. Okay, and you have to generate code words for that. That's it, and nothing else. It is not like this N1, N2, Nk. These are not till now. These are not associated with the probabilities right now. Okay, we'll discuss that. Okay, that how do I take my first code, first symbol, second symbol, third symbol. So does it depend on the way I take the first symbol? I mean, okay, our second symbol, the ordering, does it depend on the probability distribution? Because you see in the construction here, if so towards the end, like A1, A2, AK, this is increasing. Okay, this is increasing. So when k increase, let's say this is increasing in the sense of the length of the code word. Okay, so yeah, so for example here it is this, but so the thing is, if probability is high for this one, F5, I don't want to have this as a code word because that is the letter most frequently I'll send it. So I don't want to waste my channel. Okay, the capacity of the channel, or let's say the strength of my channel. Okay, because every time you send this A5, I have to send 4 bits. I don't want to do that. In fact, my choice will be this one. A1 will be the most frequent letter. Okay, we'll discuss about that, but till now we don't have it. We are just talking about existence. Okay, so we have no sense of the probability is still here. It is just symbols. Okay, so if the integers n1, n2, nk, if they satisfy this, then I can always choose those integers at the as the length of code words for this a1, a2, ak for the k symbols which I have. And conversely, okay, the length of code words of a prefix code or a prefix code satisfy, okay, the lengths of the code words, let's say, okay, satisfy the inequality. Let's say this inequality is star. Okay, the inequality or the Craft inequality star, and we are going to prove it now. Okay, and prove is not complicated, but is based on some observations. Okay, if you have any doubt, you can ask me. Okay, when I'm proving this. Okay, but this proof is very, very interesting. Okay, so what is our idea? I said if you give me this kind of letters which satisfies this, okay, then there we can always construct a prefix code. Other way of saying it, if you give me just D, I'll construct N1, N2, Nk, which will satisfy this, and that will guarantee me the existence of a prefix code word, a prefix code. Okay, that's the thing. Okay, so let us prove this. First, my first question to you is, suppose I have, okay, so suppose I have this D, okay, this is important, and suppose we consider the tree. The tree means it's the entire tree, all possible things are there. The tree, the binary tree, not the binary tree actually, d-array tree you can say. Not the d-array tree. Yeah. So these need not be color 2. So this D, I mean, this is what I wanted to say. This D need not be 2. It could be anything. Okay, need not be 2. It is anything. Now suppose we consider the tree. You can say the d-array tree. Okay. Now, if we consider the order of the tree is n, okay, then what is the number of terminal nodes? That is my question to you. Then, if the tree has, okay, order n means I said the first order node, third order, second order node, third order, so on. So finally we'll have n order, okay, n order nodes. Then if the tree has order n, then the number of terminal trees, terminal nodes is what? Any guess? Okay, let me give you a hint. Suppose I consider binary tree. So I'm starting from here. Okay, then I'll go here. Okay, and here. So this is my first order. N equal to 1. So let's say the first order. This is the second order. Okay, then the third order. Okay, so then here the third order. So this is first, second, third. So how many, what is the number of terminal nodes here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And 8, so number of terminal nodes. Terminal nodes equal to 8, which is exactly equal to 2 to the power 3. So here D is equal to 2 and N equal to 3. So if I consider this full tree, okay, full tree, then what is happening is number of terminal nodes of the tree, if it is of order n, okay, then the number of terminal nodes is d to the power n. Okay, you can prove this. Okay, so is d to the power n. So here I gave you an example how it is coming, but you can give the logic, because for each branch, okay, for if you fix a node, for each branch, how many are originating? How many nodes are originating? Okay, this is D. And then first order, then how many? Whatever number you had here, and then for each of this, there will be D again. For each of this one means here, for this one D, this one D. Then how many the order 2? Then again D of them. So if you keep on doing that, keep the summation, and then in final see that this is D to the power n. This is the first observation. Okay. So there will be D to the power n number of terminal nodes. Okay, with let's say with D number of nodes. Okay, of with the D number of nodes of order I, let's say order J, okay, originating from each node of order n minus 1, sorry, I minus 1. Okay, and here I equal to 1 to n. Okay, so for each order node, second order, first order, third order, and so on, up to n minus 1, for each node, there will be D nodes which are originating from. And now the crucial observation, okay. Now this tree, so what we are saying? We are saying that, okay, if this inequality is true, then there will be a prefix code. This is what we are going to prove. Okay, so first we have done this. Okay, now the crucial observation. Okay, first observation. Observation 1. Okay, there is fraction of D inverse, meaning 1 by D. Okay, of nodes, or the fraction of this number of nodes. Okay, of each order J originate from each of the D nodes of order 1. What do I mean by this? Let us say D equal to half. Okay, this D equal to half. 1 by D means half. Now see here, if you just consider here the first order node, whatever the remaining node, this part and this part, they have same number. So half of the nodes is originating from one particular first order node. This is what I'm writing. That half number of nodes of each order j originating from each of the d nodes of order 1. Here d means the two nodes of order 1. So there are two nodes of order 1 here. If d is not equal to 2, here in this case there will be d nodes. Okay. So for each of the node, there will be branches of other nodes. Okay. For each of the order 1 nodes. Okay. And there are d many such nodes. So there will be fraction 1 by d. Here it's like d equal to half, d equal to 2. So it is 1 by d is equal to half. Because the half part of the nodes are here in this part and half part of nodes are here. Okay. This is the first observation. Second observation is if we consider these nodes. Okay, then how many nodes are remaining originating from this each of this node of second order? What is the proportion? Okay. What is the fraction of nodes of the entire number of nodes? Okay, originating from this. Does anybody have any guess? From here it was half because here d equal to 2. How many will be from here? What will be the fraction of nodes which will be originating from here? Each of this second order node.
1 by d square.
Yes, so basically here it is 1 by 4. You can now see here there are 4 nodes. Okay, so whatever the number of nodes which originate from here, so you can divide it by 4. Okay, so proportion means for each individual node in the second order node, 1 by 4 fraction of nodes are originating from each of this. Okay, so let us write that as my observation 2 from this graph. So you can say there is a fraction of d to the power minus 2, which is 1 by d square. Okay, number of nodes, okay, can you hear me guys now? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay, somehow you got disconnected. Just a minute. Oh, recording did not stop. Okay. So, oh, good. Okay, so what we are writing? There is. What is happening? Oops. Yeah, so the second observation is there is a fraction of 1 by d square number of nodes order. Here j will be equal to bigger equal to 2. Originate from each of each of the d square nodes of this square, nodes of order 2. So in general, what we can say, if I can consider this as ith order nodes, so in general, the final observation is what? The final observation is what? This is true for observation. Final observation is what? It is true also for d to the power I. So I'll just write it down. Okay. So there is a fraction. So if you want to prove that this is true for all I, you can just do it using induction, or you understand the logic, right? So it is okay. So a fraction of d to the power minus I, which is or d to the power minus j, let's say 1 by d to the power j, okay, number of nodes of each order greater than okay, greater or equal to let's say j originate, okay, from each of how many nodes are there at ith order nodes? How many ith order nodes are there? Are jth order nodes there? How many nodes are of jth order? Here, first order means here it is d equal to 2 here. This is 2. That means 2 to the power 1. Here it is 2 to the power 2. So jth order means 2 to the power j. That means d to the power j. Each of the d to the power j nodes of order j. Okay. So this is the observation from this tree. Now, what we are proving that n1, n2, nk, they satisfy this Craft inequality star. Okay. And I have to construct this prefix code. So now we'll assume that this is the case, and then what will happen? Okay. So so suppose n1, n2, nk, okay, satisfy the Craft inequality. The Craft inequality. Let's say star. Okay, they satisfy that. Now what we have to give? We have to give a construction of the code, okay, whose lengths are this n1. The code words, the length of the code words are n1 into nk. And what we are going to do is we'll do the construction from the tree, okay, of order n. Okay. Okay. So any idea how to do that? Any idea from this full tree, how will construct the tree which will look like this? And from this observation, we can see that this will form a prefix code. Okay. So we started with a tree of order n, right? Of order n. Okay. So what is going on? Internet is down or something. Okay. So here now, So this is the observation from our tree of length of order n. Okay. Now consider n, or consider the tree. Okay. Consider tree of order n. Okay. Which equals to the largest nk. So you had these numbers n1 into nk. So I pick the maximum one, the largest one. Okay. And then I'll consider the tree, the same tree. Okay. The same tree. But here I need to decide the order. I'm saying the order is that nk, which is the maximum value of this n1 into nk. Okay. Now, the goal here, the goal is to identify the terminal nodes, just the nodes of the tree, okay, to define, so define a prefix code. But as we discussed before, whenever I am identifying a node, let's say if I identify this node, okay, let me draw something. So let me say, suppose I have this tree, okay, and here again I have this, again I have this, and this, and again I have this, this, again I have, let's say, this, and this, okay. So let's say this is my tree. Now suppose I identify this node, then what will happen? I'll not be able to identify any nodes from here. That was a construction of the prefix code. So this is my tree. This is the tree, okay, of order n, which equals to the max of all nk over k. What I'm saying is, so once I do that, once I construct this tree, I have to identify some of the nodes in order to design my prefix code. I'm saying that if I fix any node, okay, if I fix any node for my labeling or for my code words, okay, then once I choose a node, I cannot take the branch originating from that node, any node from the branch of this, because if I pick that, so there will be a prefix. Okay, so that code, if I pick any, for example, if I pick this one as well as this one, then the label of this one, okay, this will be a prefix for this one. Okay, so I cannot do that. So once I fix a node, okay, I cannot take any branch, any node in the branch originating from that node. So I have to be careful when I'm designing my prefix code. Okay. Yeah. So now let us first choose this as this one, x1, let's say x1 as my first node. Okay. And here let us assume this is without loss of generality, that n1 is less equal to n2 less equal to dot 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 nk. Okay, because I do not know how this is ordered. So nk is my max. Okay, this is the max of all this nk over k. Okay, this is my max. If they are not n1, then you can always arrange them. Okay, whatever from smallest to the smallest one you can call n1, then the second smallest is n2, and so on. If they are, so they can be equal as well. Okay, so these n1, n2, nk are given to you. Okay, this is capital K. N1, n2, nk are given to you, which need not be all distinct. They could be same also. But once they are positive integers, okay, so you can arrange them. You can define the natural ordering. So once you do that, you first fix this one. Let's say you first fix this one. Okay, so first pick any node of the tree Okay, any node of order n1, because see, this is the order of the tree. Okay, so there is of course a node of order n1, a node of order n2, because this is the order of the tree. This is the maximum. So there are nodes of order n1. So let us say you pick any node, okay, any node of order n1 of the tree. And let us say this is x1. Okay, so let us say this one is the x1. Okay. Now I cannot choose any of them, any of the nodes which are in the branch, okay, originated from x1. And how many are there? How many nodes are there in this branch?
Sir, can you please repeat the last statement?
That my question is, how many nodes are there in this branch? So there are this tree, let's say this tree, order is nk. Order is nk. This is the maximum. This is the order. Now I pick a node, let's say here x1. This is my node, let's say, pick which is order n1. Then my question is, how many nodes are here in this branch which are originating from this node? This branch is, let's say, n1. So this is the first branch, first order, but assume that this is n1 because I do not know what is the value of n1. So I'm first choosing a node. Okay, a node you can give a name. Node, let's say x1. Okay, node of order node of order n1. Okay, then how many nodes are there in the branch which are originated from x1? What is the fraction of nodes?
So it will be 1 of d power n1 of total number of nodes.
Yeah, so then, yeah, that is good. Thank you. So then there are the fraction d to the power minus n1, okay, nodes that originate from x1. Okay, now we have to pick another node. Okay, so pick another node, okay, pick another node which is order n2. Okay, but this node should not belong to the branch, okay, originated from x1. So pick another node of order n2, okay, that does not, node let's say x2 of order n2 that does not belong to the branch originated from x1. And this is an available node for which you can consider as this thing, a code word. Okay, because say here, for example, here, so if I just say another node of order n2, order n2 nodes are also here. Okay, but you cannot choose that, because if you choose that, the corresponding code word will have a prefix of x1. So you have to choose from the other direction. So there are other directions here from, you have to choose from this side. Now say here.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, you have written, then there are fraction d power minus n1 order that originated from x1. It should be like not from x1, but we are looking at entire tree and taking its.
No. Yeah,
No.
can you please repeat the question?
So you are saying like it is 1 by d power n1 fraction of nodes that originates from x1. But it should be to the fraction 1 by dn should be of all the nodes that originate from All the nodes from order n1.
See, how many nodes are there? Or which are of order n1. So let us go back to this again. Okay, I think here, right? Here. So there's a fraction of d to the power minus 1 number of nodes, okay, of each order j, which is bigger than 1. This is important. Originate from each of these n1 nodes, order 1. So if you fix one particular node, let's say first order, then it is d to the power minus 1 nodes originating from this particular node.
Yes, sir, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that is what I said also. So there is a fraction of d1. So here there are 2. So 1 by d is here fraction. So this is d half. Half of the nodes are here, half of the nodes are here. So here, for example, this is when 2, okay, this is d squared minus 2. That means when you are taking second order node, there are 4 branches. Okay, from here there will be 1 branch. Okay, let me change my. Yeah, so from here there will be 1 branch. From here there will be another branch. From here there will be another branch. From here there will be another branch. And for each of these, what is the fraction of node? D to the power minus 2. So in general, when it is j, okay, fraction of the number of nodes of each order greater than equal to j originate from d to the power j nodes of order j. From each of the originates, each of the d to the power j nodes originate of order j. So if you pick a node of order n1, there will be d to the power minus n1 number of nodes which will originate from that node. And this is what I'm saying. So that does not, what is that? Yeah, there's a fraction of d to the power n1 nodes that originate from x1. Because x1 is, that is my node here. Is there any doubt?
Okay, sir.
Okay. Okay, so now see, there is a catch. And the catch is, what will happen is n1 is equal to n2. That means you have to pick, for example, here you have to pick this kind of a node, which is in the other branch. Is n1 equal to n2, we have to pick it from here. But here, let us say d equal to 2. So this is a binary tree. And suppose there is n1, n2, n3. Okay, and all are equal. Okay, they all are 1, let's say. Then you cannot have such a situation. That means then those numbers will not satisfy Crafts inequality. So this is a little homework here. What happens when there are multiple case such that nk is equal to n1. Okay, so this is just a little homework. Okay, so then if you pick another node n2, okay, so another node, let's say you pick from here. So let's say this is my x2. This is a node this of order n2. Then this part you cannot choose anything. Okay, d to the power minus n2. So belong to the boundary for one, and there. Okay, I don't want to write it again, let's say. So then there are d to the power, okay, let me write it for this time, into a proportion of our portion. What did I write it here? Fraction. So fraction of this nodes, okay, this many nodes, okay, that originate from x2, okay. So as a total, this and this, okay, how many nodes you cannot, how many nodes, the total number of nodes you cannot choose for the next step. That is, what is the fraction of nodes? That is d to the power minus. So then the total number of nodes that cannot be chosen for next code word, okay, is d to the power minus n1 plus d to the power minus n2. This is the fraction. But see now, due to the Craft inequality, this is less equal to 1. In fact, this is strictly less equal to 1 because there are many more nodes. Okay, like there are many more branches like here. So if we do x1, x2, then there is this one node, for example, okay, which you can choose here. So that means since this is less equal to 1, so this fraction of nodes, okay, which you cannot choose is less than 1 or less equal to 1. If it is equal to 1, then you of course cannot, you reach to the situation. Okay, that means this is exhausted. That means n1 and n2. Okay, so this is a tree of order n2 if it is equal. Otherwise, it is always less than 1. So that means there are more nodes, so you can choose for the next step. So keep on doing this. Keep on doing this. Ultimately, then for let's say any it's L steps. Okay, for L steps means okay, let's say for AL where L is less than K because there are K and capital K number of symbols. Okay, for any KL there will be still a fraction of d to the power minus n1 plus d to the power minus n2 plus dot plus d to the power minus nl, which is again less than or due to Craft inequality because these integers n1, n2, and l, they satisfy this inequality. Okay, fraction of nodes, which is this. Okay, some nodes this available for the next step. Okay, so next step, as long as let's say as long as L is less than K. Therefore, this is the proof. Therefore, we can always be able to identify nodes from the tree of order max nk, this k, okay, overall k, okay, of order this, okay, that will provide a construction for a prefix code. Any question?
No, sir.
Okay, so here, let's say, then I can choose, let's say here, x3. I'm just giving an example, and then this will be x4. So this was my original example. So this is how I started. So let's say this will be so this is how we have constructed a tree which can realize prefix code. Now, what about the converse? What is the converse? The converse was given a prefix, okay? There will always be, the Craft inequality will always be satisfied. So does anybody have any clue how to prove this? What is the converse? Converse is if there is a prefix code, okay, of length of the length of the code was as n1 into nk, okay, over the alphabet D, then this is always satisfied. Does anybody have a clue how to prove that? Because it is obvious. You understand, guys, this construction?
What we can do, we can pick like the given code, and we can make a correspondence with the graph, and then from graph it will be clear using these three lemmas that the inequality will be satisfied.
Yeah, so what we'll do is basically once we have this code, so there will be some length of the code words. Conversely, if there is a prefix code with length of the code words as, let's say, n1 into nk, then our job is to prove the craft inequalities. So the goal is so that craft inequality is true. Is true. Okay. Then you can of course generate a tree, and you can add not the full tree. Let's say those two. So starting from 0, 1, whatever be the codes, whatever be the code words. Okay. Accordingly, you can go and form the tree for which you identify the nodes for which these are the code words. Whatever the node, I mean, there may be some labels or maybe some let's say some nodes of some particular order, okay, where there is no correspondence code. Let's say n1, okay, is equal to 1, n2 is equal to 4, n3 equal to 7. Let us say like this. That means there is no code word corresponding to a node of order 2, of order 3, of order 5, or order 6. Because from the proof, what we have seen that we chose n1, n2, n3, they are of order 1, 2, and 3. Okay. So since this is 1, so there will be only first order nodes. 4, so there will be fourth order nodes. Okay. So and so on. So you construct that tree, let's say this one. Let's say you have 4 code words, something like this. Then what you do is you construct the remaining tree. You construct the remaining tree. Okay, you make the tree full, all possible branches. And then due to the same logic, the way we prove this part, due to the same logic, this proof, same logic, we can say that this number n1 into nk will satisfy this craft inequality. Okay, this is the craft inequality. And this is one of the fundamental theorems. And now the interesting part is, so the question I started with, can there be, okay, so if it is a prefix code, it is always uniquely decodable, right? So at least one can say that in the question, I mean, at least from the example we have seen, that that was uniquely decodable. Then the question is, in general, what happens to the craft inequality if it is a uniquely decodable code? And we'll prove that for any uniquely decodable code, craft inequality is always satisfied. But the converse need not be true. Is that is that a good statement to make? What I'm trying to prove is, for any uniquely decodable code, which need not be prefix code, let's say, then the craft inequality is always valid. Is the converse true? I mean, if it is a uniquely decodable code, Will the craft unique be always true? Suppose the uniquely decodable code is not a prefix code. That we don't know. And the converse in general need not be true. So our next result, next theorem, okay, our next result.
Sir, can you please repeat this one? So
Yeah,
what exactly
yeah.
you are saying is once we have a decodable code, then the craft inequality is always true.
That I'll prove.
That you are
What I'm
saying.
yeah, so that I'll prove. What I'm saying is prefix code is always uniquely decodable, and prefix code always for prefix code, craft inequality is an if and only condition. But my question is it true? So let me write it here. Okay, remark. The craft inequality is an if and only if condition. If and only if means if there is a bunch of numbers n1 into nk which satisfy the craft inequality, then you can construct a prefix code. And if you construct prefix code with code lengths with code word lengths n1 into nk, then the craft inequality is satisfied over that alphabet, code alphabet, whatever it is. So if the craft inequality is an if and only if condition for a prefix code. Prefix code. This is what we proved. Okay. A question here is is it true for uniquely decodable code? That's the question. Now I'm saying why the question arises. The question arises because prefix code is always uniquely decodable. So then the question will be that any decodable, uniquely decodable code, will that also satisfy craft inequality, or if is craft inequality an if and only if condition for uniquely decodable code? The answer is no. But what is true is the following. So my next theorem that if let's say if C is a code, C is a uniquely decodable code, then craft inequality is always true. This is what I'm saying. Okay. So what does it mean? So this means actually that is if n1, n2, if okay, that means if C is a code on the code alphabet, let's say D star D, then D with let's say this D is equal to the calligraphic D, number elements calligraphic D with code words of length, let's say n1 into nk, then summation d to the power minus nk, this k is equal to 1 to capital K, equal to 1 to capital K, should always be less equal to 1. This is what we are going to prove. The proof is a little long, so maybe we'll start it tomorrow because we don't have much time here today. And if we are able to prove this one, and then the next theorem will be the source coding theorem. For in fact, this theorems we'll use in order to prove the source coding theorem. And there will show that in fact this average code word length, okay, this has to be bigger equal to the entropy, okay. I mean, when we are talking about the binary code, so it is bigger equal to the entropy for for yeah, so in bar, I mean this expected length will always be bigger equal to entropy, and the entropy is nothing but the entropy of the random variable of the symbols. Okay, so this is what we are going to prove, and that will be the, I mean that will be the proof of one of the first one of the best theorems of Shannon, or we can say you can say that the first theorem of Shannon's information theory. Okay, and then the question will be, can we have a code? Does there exist an algorithm which will guarantee to generate a code which will satisfy that optimality condition, meaning the average length of that code will be exactly equal to entropy? Does there exist any algorithm to generate such a code? Yeah, so I think I'll stop it here. If you have any question, you can ask me. So we'll prove this tomorrow. If you have any question, you can ask me.